Welcome to Yoga for Personal Growth. We are just hello Rose, a minute or two ahead of schedule to give people a chance to jump on. So I am going to find us a playlist and share it in the comments, and then we will be ready to go. Hi, Missy. Let's see. So, as I said, we're doing yoga for personal growth today, and let's just get this one. I still can't do more than one thing at a time. So we had a vote last night. It was either going to be a grounding flow, yoga for personal growth, or a chakra balancing class. And this won out by the deadline, but since then, a couple more people voted for the chakra class. So we will do that one next Friday. And next Friday is actually going to be our last Spotify playlist, our last Friday afternoon class here on my Facebook page. It will also be the last Tuesday class on my Facebook page next week as well, because next week there's going to be an announcement about me doing a couple outdoor in-person weekly classes. They'll be taking place on Tuesday and Fridays in place of these online classes. So I am still going to be teaching lots of virtual classes. They just won't be free here on my Facebook page. So I'll be sure to make all that information known. So if you want to continue your yoga practice with me on a weekly basis, you'll be able to join one of my paid programs, or, you can always just go to the playlist and stick with the classes that have already been recorded. But we're going to do the yoga for personal growth. I couldn't remember what it was called today. And next Friday, we will do that chakra balancing flow. And then from there, we'll see where the sun leads us. But information on those in-person classes is coming early next week. But for now, just know next week is going to be our last week of free classes here on my Facebook page. So, got my music going. Hopefully Rose doesn't disturb things too much. And I've got this fancy little thing to hold my notes. So hopefully I'll be able to see them without too much difficulty, even though I don't have my glasses on. Anyway, we're going to start off lying down. So if you want to lay on your mat, eyes closed or knee bent, whatever works best for you. I am going to just ooze myself around this cat and closing our eyes or softening our gaze and taking a couple minutes just to relax on our mats, allowing our bodies to release any tension we can tell that we're feeling or we're holding rather. And just allowing yourself these first few moments to simply be. My stand is all well and good until the cat goes and knocks everything over. And then lays on my notes. Taking as long as you like here on your mat, but if you're ready to start to introduce a bit of movement, let's exhale as we draw one knee in. Inhale as we extend the leg out long or giving a bend in the knee. Exhale, drawing the other leg in and out. Just taking your time, flowing side to side. Just notice right away any sensations in your body, any scripts that are running through your mind, anything that you're saying to yourself today or this week, true or not true. Let's bring both those knees in. Gently rock a little bit side to side. And just reflecting for a moment on those scripts, those stories that we play and listen over and over in our head, and realize that maybe some of them are outdated. Maybe some of them are straight up wrong. Maybe some of them still hold true, but are truths that you're trying to change. And know that through your self-talk, you can start to make those changes. Let's lower our feet down to the floor, moving into a flowing bridge, gently lifting our hips, peeling one vertebrae at a time up off of our mat, and slowly lowering back down. It's very rare that something that we've held onto for most or all of our life doesn't come from some source of truth, some little seed of truth, even if it wasn't the truth as the world knows it. Perhaps it was just the truth as you felt it. But just because something was true at one point in your life doesn't mean that it's true forever. At one point, you could say that you didn't know how to print your name. And that was true. But it's not true now. It seems to be easier for us to release our ideas of physical things that we can and cannot do, much more so than it is emotional. Let's do one more flowing bridge. And as we lower our hips, let's lower our knees to one side. Use your arms to help us coming up onto our hands and knees. Making our way into cat and cow, exhaling as we arch our back up, dropping through our chin, dropping through our tailbone, inhaling as we lift, looking up towards the ceiling. We arch and lift. Taking our time, really just exploring how things feel today, trying to let go of any ideas of, I can't do such and such a pose, or any judgment of how we normally practice, and allowing ourselves instead to choose the options as provided that will best support us today. It's coming back to a neutral spine. We're going to extend one arm and the opposite leg out into that spinal balance, feeling all those little adjustments our body needs to make, those muscle contractions to help support us, lowering down, switching sides. And knowing that as much as we have to make physical adjustments to find balance here in spinal balance and in our lives, sometimes we have to make those same physical adjustments in our regular life. One more time. And then we're going to sink back into child's pose. Allowing forehead to rest on stacked hands, stacked fists. Maybe for today, it'll feel more comfortable to open our knees a little bit wider into a wide stance child's pose. Maybe today we have to keep our head lifted because of a certain gray and white kitty. Practicing yoga or doing any type of exercise with a pet in the room reminds us of how we have to maintain some adaptability in our practices in our lives, because you never really know when someone cute and furry is just going to flop down on your mat and require your attention. You never know when those unexpected things are going to come into your life. From child's pose, we're going to come back up onto all fours. We're going to kickstand our left leg out on a 45-degree angle, making our way into a supported side plank. Slowly coming back to all fours, flowing through cat and cow a couple times. You can choose how many, maybe 1, 2, 6, whatever works for you. And then we're going to take the right leg out on that 45, finding our way into supported side plank. Back to cat and cow. And supported side plank. This time, 1 cat, 1 cow. Back to a neutral spine, making your way into supported side plank. Back to all fours, cat and cow. Neutral to side plank. Just continuing to flow at your own pace. Taking your time, but connecting your movement to your breath. And finishing off your flow with that side plank on the right and sinking back into child's pose. I don't know if you can hear this kitty purring or not. You could definitely hear that, sorry. All right, from child's pose, we're going to come up into down facing dog. Tucking your toes, lifting your hips up and back, walking your feet in place a little bit. And slowly walking your feet forward. Coming into a forward fold, inhaling up to a flat back, bending through the knees, coming all the way up to standing. Hands coming down to heart center, rolling your shoulder, closing your eyes. As we take a moment to focus in on our breath. Then from mountain pose, bringing our hands behind us, reaching energetically through our fingertips as we roll our shoulders back, opening through our chest, feeling a stretch right through the front and coming up the center of our torso as we gently look upwards, keeping our jaw relaxed, opening up allowing ourselves to be a little bit vulnerable. Maybe noticing some feelings, some emotions, some thoughts bubbling up as your heart's exposed here, and not judging those ideas or thoughts, just noticing them, hearing what they're saying. Let's relax the arms, inhaling up overhead, exhale, forward fold, allowing your arms and head to hang heavy. Gently shaking your head, no. Gently nodding your head, yes. Inhaling up to a flat back, bending through the knees all the way up to standing as we exhale, sinking back into chair. Inhaling up nice and tall. Exhale, sinking back. Weight is in our heel to midfoot. Again, just paying attention to how this feels, any dialogue running through your mind of this is too easy, this is too hard, this is just right. Just noticing. When it comes to growth, the first step is recognizing our habits. One more time, this time keeping your knees long or straight. I guess your knees can't really be long. Bringing your hands to heart center, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. As we think about those little habits, our samskaras, when we think about driving on a road in the rain, you know how the water pools where people drive the most often, there's those visible tire tracks. And sometimes we'll try to drive outside of the regular tire tracks on the road because it's less wet. Those tire tracks are like our samskaras, our habits. And it's very easy for us to fall back into those little grooves in the road, as much as it is for us to fall back into those little grooves in our brain. We have to consciously make a choice and decision to try and alter them. And we can, but it takes a little bit of work. So open our eyes, stepping back with one foot into warrior one, squaring our shoulders to the front of our mat, bending through the knee, extending our arms, relaxing our shoulders, feeling that pinky toe edge of the foot pressing into the mat. Holding our poses steady a little bit more than I would in a regular class, allowing us that extra time for reflection, noticing any thoughts that pop up during each pose. So open through the hip, extending through the arms, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Looking forward past your middle finger or to the side, whichever is more comfortable for you. Inhaling up and over to side angle. We choose coming into an extended side angle and then giving the option to wrap that arm around into a partial bind. But before you go into a partial bind, ask yourself, why do you want to go there? Is it because you want to focus on opening up through your chest? Or do you just want to go to what you perceive to be the harder version of the pose? Sometimes the harder version is staying in the basic pose. From side angle, we're going to straighten but not lock that front leg, reaching out into triangle. If we were in extended, we're going to bring our arm back up. If you were in that partial bind, you can stay there or extend. Coming back up nice and tall, turning to the side, coming into a standing straddle or a wide stance, forward fold. Difference being wide stance, forward fold, we're not extending our legs out as far, letting our head hang heavy. Then we're going to walk our fingertips back to the front of the mat, pivoting our feet, lowering that back knee, finding our way into a kneeling lunge. From kneeling lunge, we're going to make our way into lizard. So right now we have our left hand, foot, right hand. We're going to move so our foot walks to the side of our mat and our hands are beside one another. So it's foot, hand, hand. Coming forward, this is our dragon pose. So maybe feeling called to wave our hips a little bit side to side. Maybe for you, you want to come down onto your forearms. Maybe one forearm, one hand. Or perhaps you're just going to allow yourself to experience this from your hands today and not worrying about going deeper or further into it. And then we're going to come to a pause. We're going to flex that back foot. We're going to press everything up and back, down dog. Take a moment just to remember which leg was in front and which leg was stepped back, so that when we go to the opposite side, you'll know which the opposite side actually is. Slow down to our knees, sinking back to child's pose. Knowing that you always have the option to rest or flow. Those who are interested in doing a bit more of a flow today, we're going to come into our half series. So from child's pose, forward, kneeling plank, exhaling down, crocodile, up to baby cobra, pressing back to child's pose, or let me adjust my cord a bit here, down dog, forward to plank, lowering down, crocodile, up, baby cobra, back to down dog, or maybe cat and cow is going to be more beneficial for us today. Or maybe we want to sort of combine the two. So we go from child's pose forward to kneeling plank, rounding up into like a kneeling plank cat, kneeling plank cow, back to child's pose. That one's a little bit weird, but it can be kind of nice. From child's pose, kneeling plank, arching up, lifting, then back to child's pose. Or of course, you can just stay in child's pose. Let's finish up whatever we're working on and meet in child's pose. From child's pose, extending our arms, lifting our hips, tucking our toes up and back, down dog. Taking 1 or 2 or 6 steps forward into a forward fold. Inhaling up to a flat back, rounding through the knees, all the way up to standing. Hands coming down to heart center. Stepping back with the opposite foot into warrior one. I turn direction so I don't have to turn my back on you. squaring our shoulders to the front of the mat, hands at heart center, or extending. Noticing our breath. Noticing again any inner dialogue that's happening. Still not judging it, but noticing it. Starting to identify, starting to put labels on some of those cassette tapes. I believe the demographic watching this knows a cassette tape. So that we can label them. We don't want to label them good or bad, but maybe labeling them as this is hard, or I'm not flexible, or I'm out of balance. Whatever that dialogue is telling you, let's open up into Warrior 2. Maybe your tape says, I hate yoga, but I do it because I think it's good for me. I don't know. Just a nice general tape. And remember, we're trying not to reach into the forward or stay stuck in the past. We want to be in the present, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. And maybe just for today, in our Warrior 2, we say to ourselves, I am strong. I am strong. Coming forward, side angle. From side angle, making our way into triangle. Gently coming back up, turning our toes, again, wide stance, forward fold, or standing straddle if you would prefer to go a little bit deeper into that position. And pivoting on your feet, walking back to the front of your mat, sinking that back knee down into kneeling lunge. From kneeling lunge, we're going to make our way into dragon. So once again, we're going to heel toe our foot out to the one side of our mat, bringing our hands to the inside. Choosing maybe to stay here, maybe to come down onto one forearm, maybe both. Maybe allowing our hips to sway a little side to side if that feels good. And then coming to still, if you're on your forearms, making your way back up onto hands, tucking those back toes and pressing everything up and back to down dog. Gently lowering down to your knees, sinking back to child's pose. Once again, yogi's choice to rest or flow. Resting can be here in child's pose. Maybe you'd prefer down dog. Flow would be our half series modified or full, or maybe cat and cow, or that sort of, I don't want to call it weird, but different modified half series, where we come to a kneeling plank, arch up into a version of cat, up to a version of cow, then back to child's pose. Personally, I really enjoy this. Whoops, I forgot to do the cat. It's finding what works for you, whether it's a flow or a rest. And then we're all going to meet in down dog. Walking our feet forward into a forward fold. Letting our arms and head hang heavy. Again, gently shaking our head no. Nodding our head yes. Bending through the knees, lifting all the way up. Mountain pose. Rolling our shoulders. Feet hip distance apart. Allowing our eyes to relax closed as we take a moment here in Tadasana, mountain, feeling ourselves grounded, maybe rocking a little bit front and back from our toes to our heels, finding our perfect balance point, that center of balance. Knees are gently bent, allowing our arms to relax down by our sides, opening our eyes as we come into tree pose. So first option is bringing our ankles together, making a 90-degree angle. Option 2 is lifting our heel. Rose, could you move to the side, please? Thank you. Lifting our heel up onto our ankle, keeping our toes on the floor. Maybe we're lifting a bit higher onto our shin or up above our knee, which I don't dare do with a cat ready to knock me over. Thinking about opening up through the hip, finding a hand position that works for you. We're going to be holding tree pose a bit longer than maybe we normally would. We're really striking out to challenge our balance today, to challenge those little habits, to try to drive outside of those tire ruts in the road, knowing that once in a while we'll probably have to put our foot down to find our balance, but that is okay. Maybe even lifting the toes on our standing foot and then placing them down, helping us to find our stability. Relaxing through our shoulders, through our jaw, knowing that holding tension higher up isn't going to help our balance. Yes, we want to use that dynamic tension flowing through our body, engaging our muscles to help support us, but not overtly so. And then challenging you to take the hand of the lifted foot, peace sign fingers as we bend our knee in, bring those peace sign fingers around the big toe, capping it with our thumb. And maybe we stay right here. Maybe we can start to extend the leg. Maybe instead we prefer to bring our hands under the thigh and extend. Finding your version. Remembering to breathe. And slowly bringing everything down. Giving our legs a shake. Rolling our shoulders. Closing our eyes. Taking a moment. In mountain. Feeling the strength our body provides for us. As we open our eyes, making our way into tree on the opposite side. So making that 90-degree angle at the ankle, maybe lifting up to the heel, perhaps to the shin, perhaps above the knee into the thigh. Making sure that your foot is above or below the knee joint. Do you see that tail wagging? Remembering to breathe, don't hold your breath. And then peace sign fingers on the same leg as lifted foot. Bring it to the inside of your big toe, capping with your thumb. Maybe staying right here, maybe starting to extend, or maybe again choosing to bring your hands underneath. Challenging our balance, our stability, our preconceived notions as to what we can and cannot do or achieve. Remember, it's okay to get a little extra support now and again. You only fall when you refuse to take support. Let's bring our foot down. Nice deep breath in, hands coming down to heart center. Maybe again, rocking front and back on our feet, maybe even lifting up onto our toes. Nice deep breath in, reaching our arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold, stepping back. Down dog. Let's sink to our knees and then back into child's pose. From child's pose, we're going to float forward into a kneeling plank. And we're going to sink down onto our belly. Oh, hello. Bringing our forearms down onto our mat, lifting up to Sphinx pose. You guys. This is like I've got double Sphinx going on here. No, you can't have the microphone miss. That's the one thing you can't do. And then we're going to lower down, stacking our hands or fists, resting our forehead on our hands. Then bringing our hands back under our shoulders, we're going to very slowly move into Sphinx again. So we're gently just going to start to lift an inch at a time. Slowly lift just a little bit further. Still looking down towards your mat. Maybe lifting a little bit higher so the bottom rib is just kissing the mat. Maybe pressing our ears further away from our shoulders. And then your option is to sort of sway a little bit side to side. I'm sorry. Are you guys going to miss this on Friday afternoons? Me being manhandled by a cat while trying to be serious? And then very slowly pressing up and back to child's pose, allowing your forehead to rest on stacked hands, stacked fists, yoga block. From child's pose, we're gently going to make our way up into a kneeling position. If it is okay for you, flexing your feet. If that's not okay, just leave your feet relaxed. We're going to make two fists. We're going to put them at the top of our glutes, knuckles facing one another. And what I want you to think about is your sternum and lifting through your sternum, projecting your heart forward. I said the other day in a class, like the Care Bear stare, projecting your image forward. So we're going to inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to squeeze between our shoulder blades. We're going to lift through our sternum. Gosh, I can't think of what the bad guys in the Care Bears were, but we're trying to protect our hearts and our loved ones from evil. So we're projecting that image forward, feeling our heart opening up, feeling love for ourselves. It's usually pretty easy to feel love for others, but how often do we feel love for ourselves? Being thankful for this time today on our mats, this time to take for ourselves, whether it's disrupted or not, whether it feels uncomfortable. Sitting with that and being thankful. Let's very gently relax out of that. Taking your time, but slowly sinking back to child's pose, stretching out through that low back. And when you feel ready, coming up onto all fours, lowering your hips down to one side, extending your legs out into staff pose. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. As we come into a seated forward fold, remember we're hinging at the hip, not at the upper back. We want to keep our heart open. We want to continue to project forward. So we're going to inhale. And as we exhale, we're hinging at the hip. Heart is still projecting forward and then relaxing our shoulders, our hands down. Continue to flex our feet, a little bend in our knees. Maybe we can walk our fingertips a little tiny bit further forward. Breathing. Slowly coming up, bringing your feet in to a seated butterfly. Then we're going to transition into a lying position on our backs, knees bent. So take your time with this. If you want to stop and put on socks or a sweater or something of that nature, please do. Feet should be hip width apart. And we're going to just relax our hands on our bellies, right around our belly button area. And just breathing and noticing if you feel any sensation through your abdomen. Do you feel it rise and fall with each inhale and exhale? Keeping one hand on your belly, maybe lifting the other up to your chest. And notice as you inhale, which rises first, your chest or your belly? And as you exhale, which lowers first, chest or belly? Maybe you only feel the belly move. Maybe you only feel the chest move. It's not right or wrong. It's just noticing and learning what you can about yourself. We can't grow if we don't know where we're starting. From this constructive rest position, let's bring the soles of our feet together, finding our way into a reclining butterfly. And continuing to breathe and noticing any difference in the sensations you feel both through your breath and through your body. As we continue here in Reclining Butterfly, thinking of the butterfly and how the caterpillar creates its cocoon for its transformation. And that caterpillar turns into little more than a little gob of goo before it makes its transformation into a beautiful butterfly. So wonderful, even if hard to recognize, truth that to grow, we too have to go through that period of messiness where it feels like it can't possibly be a bright light on the other side. But just like that caterpillar, if we press on, if we are kind to ourselves, allow ourselves the time we need for change. We'll come out of that cocoon, our own version of a beautiful butterfly. But we can't rush it. From Reclining Butterfly, let's extend our legs out long. And then we're going to hug one knee in to our chest. Hand comes behind the knee joint. Other leg extended long. And we have the option to stay right here. Or if we wish, we can start to extend that leg. Reach our hand up. We're extending at the knee joint. Reaching our hand up, grabbing the outside of the ankle, the outside of our foot, into a half happy baby, knowing that this is a vulnerable pose to be in. It's really opening us up once again. Maybe uncomfortable. If it is and you don't want to sit with it, just come back to the knees to chest. And then let's extend that leg back out long. Start to draw the opposite knee in, knee to chest. Choosing to stay here, or once again, bending at the knee, grabbing the outside of the ankle, the outside of the foot for a half happy baby. Then lowering the leg down. With your option to go into traditional Shavasana or back to that constructive rest position. Whatever feels like it will be most beneficial for you in this moment. Then closing your eyes or softening your gaze, bringing your attention inward. Once again, starting to notice what's running through your mind now at the end of class versus the start. Is it the same dialogue? Has the dialogue sped up, slowed down, changed? You're not going to have to share this with anyone. It's only for you. This is a quote from the book Pathways to Joy. These are the questions that I put to every man, woman, and child who is in physical, mental, or spiritual training. Are you strong? Are you getting stronger? Do you feel strength? For I know that it is truth alone that gives strength. I know that truth alone gives life, and nothing but approaching reality will make us strong. Strength is the medicine for the world's disease. Delusion will vanish as the light within becomes more and more bright. Load and after load of ignorance will vanish, and then will come a time when all else has disappeared and the spirit alone shines. It is my hope that through your practice of yoga, you will learn to be gentle with yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Hope that you'll find compassion for all who are suffering, and you'll learn the power of forgiveness both for yourself and for others, because only then will you be free. Let's slowly start to bring our attention back to the room. Wiggling our fingers, wiggling our toes, moving in any way that feels good in this moment. When you're ready, rolling over to your favorite side, pressing yourself up to a seated position. As we finish our practice here today, nice deep breath in, reaching our arms up overhead, exhaling, hands come down together. Again, inhale, reaching up, exhaling down. One more time. The light in me honors and respects the light in you, and we seal our practice with namaste. Feel free to stay here on your mat for a few extra minutes of deep breath work. Or maybe you have a furry friend who's joined you and you'd like to spend a little bit more time with them. I think that our furry friends, we all know that Rose likes to join me no matter what kind of class I'm teaching, but she particularly enjoys yoga, especially classes where I'm really focusing on moving and changing energy. Anytime we have one of those classes like today, you can see that she's all over me because animals can feel those energetic changes. And while this class wasn't a chakra balancing class, we still were playing with the different chakras, especially through the heart. As you could tell by the fact that she kept crawling on my back and on my belly. Animals are very in tune. So whenever your pet joins you on the mat and bites your wrist, I think that it is a good sign of energy moving and shifting and growth. So you should always feel proud when they join you, but don't be upset if they don't, because, they're also animals. They have their own agenda. So thank you so much for joining me today. As I said at the start of class, next Friday will be our last Friday yoga class. It will be a chakra balancing flow. So I hope you will join me and probably Rose next Friday. Otherwise, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week. Right? You want to say bye? Bye. Now we have to get up. Come on. We gotta get up. Bye.